take on the world. Standing tall, we gotta make it our own. No waiting around. Winners would never look down. No one can stop us, we got it. The future is right in our hands. Give it 100%. We gonna take on the world. Yeah, we gotta move. Speaking the truth. Yeah, paying our dues. We making the news. Yeah, we hitting the roof. No, we don't wanna lose. Climbing and shaking the walls. We gotta break all the rules.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Jacksonville Jaguars Fan Battle Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Matthew Grieve, joined by my co-host, Cody. What's up, Cody?
All right, man. How we feeling out there? How's your drive time commute?
My drive time commute is all of 15 seconds from my bed to my office.
Gang.
What about you, man? How you been?
I've been good, dude. I've been just living life. LIVIN.
All right. Well, as much as we like foreplay, let's just get down to business.
All right.
We had the 2023 NFL draft this past weekend wrapped up, and the Jaguars found themselves not in the top 3 nor the top 1 spot where we've sat the past 2 years. We found ourselves drafting, or at least started the night in the first round, sitting in the 24th spot. As we all know, we ended up drafting number 27 overall. So we're here to talk about that, our thoughts and our opinions as professional and experienced as we are as draft pundits. We're gonna tell you how we feel about it. If you're watching it, you're just forced to listen.
Yeah, that'll be not at all.
Not at all. But hey, we're here for a good time, right?
Yeah, man. There's been a lot of good content that was been pushed out, whatever, by some great Duval content creators. There was Jordan and Brent James or whatever that made like an in-depth list, and something that kind of made me nervous about today's show, to be honest, or whatever, because there's this level of commitment and which we definitely have, but just the quality of it was great.
Listen, we're just 2 Jaguars fans here to have a good time and talk about the Jaguars.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
keeping it real, right?
Yeah. It doesn't get any more real than this.
All right. So we're going to do as much as we can in a short amount of time, because we know everyone in planet Earth has ADD and ADHD. So we're going to try to keep your attention as long as we can. So in the first round, I kind of alluded to, we started the 24th spot. Cody, can you kind of go over what happened with us on that first night?
So we traded back I think it was during a commercial break or whatever, which the NFL loves to do. Like when the Jaguars are picking, we whopper all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Instead of showing who we're picking, or showing the family or anybody like that, or the call, they're not in the room shooting like they were with the Cowboys, which looked like the Legion of Doom. I mean, when I think of like a villain's lair or whatever, the Cowboys draft night was that. It was insane. But so yeah, we traded back, and then we traded back again. So I'm like trying to get excited or whatever. I'm down there at Daly's place. My phone battery is about dead. I'm trying to record the moment and stuff. And then, they're like, edge of me to that point. And then the pick finally happened. And then we got Anton Harrison, which, I'm going to be honest, man, a lot of people there didn't know who he was, including me. But coming out of Oklahoma or whatever, I just figured he was good or whatever. So I came back home and did some research, and turns out he is. So thank God for that.
For those listening to the podcast, Brown Chubby Bear from our sister podcast, the Houston Texans Fan Battle, he said, when keeping it real, ... goes wrong. I mean, I really have nothing to say about that. He's right.
Yeah.
He's right. We're trying our darnest over here. So, Anton Harrison, we ended up picking at 27. Anton Harrison, Oklahoma offensive tackle, who Sorry. Were you pointing at me?
No, it's it's my daughter.
Oh no, you're good. Okay, so while
Hey.
he's at Oklahoma, he played his entire Oklahoma career at left tackle. I think he played one game at right tackle. That was against Kent State. So, does he come in and fill that left tackle need?
Yeah, I'm thinking that. So he played. What was he played left side, and then he switched over to right side for like one game during the season opener in his third year. 1,800 plus snaps at on the right side. So yeah, I'm thinking that's his avenue. And I think Luke is a little bit. I mean, not Luke. Oh my God, who am I thinking of?
On which side? Sorry,
Luke
Fortner.
No, the tackle that we picked up.
Walker Little.
Yeah, Walker Little.
Oh, okay.
Walker Little has a little bit more veteran talent after season. So I think he switches over to that end, and then Anton Harrison gets to work on the right side.
Yeah, so when he was originally picked, again, this is being very ignorant. I had no idea who he was. Really, he was not the apple of my eye in the first round. In fact, I wasn't really looking at any offensive tackles in the first two rounds. And with him being ranked as high as he was totally off my radar. So when he was initially picked, I assumed Walker Little would slot into the left tackle and Harrison slot in the right tackle spot, which has been vacated. But kind of like what you said, I think I agree with you. I think Walker Little will sit in that left tackle and Harrison will sit in that right tackle, just because he has the experience. Now, when Cam Robinson comes back, he'll move back into the left tackle spot, and then Harrison and Walker Little will most likely end up competing for that right tackle spot. But we'll see. We'll see what's happening.
A lot of people think if Cam Robinson comes back, he's going to like ride that bench.
You think so?
I don't. I personally, I'm not like a future predictor or anything, but kind of wonder if it depends on what is going on. How did whatever he has in his system get there, and then the story behind that, whatever. So that's just the story is progressing right now. So
yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure. Whatever. If it turns out that he did bring in, do PEDs on purpose or something like that, then I don't think the organization is going to have, faith in him for one. So he might, not, despite the talent. So
yeah, it could go either way. We're only a couple days post NFL draft, so we'll see what happens. I personally think it's all, at the end of the day, it's all about getting wins. And I think Cam Robinson, even if he is the one that doesn't end up staying on the team after this year, which I don't think will happen regardless, I think he gives us the best chance at left tackle. And I think once his suspension is done, Cam Robinson will move into that left tackle spot, and Harrison and Walker Little will fight for the right tackle spot. Of course, it's barring any injuries. So for those that are listening, Matthew Briggs left a comment on Facebook saying, "We want Josh Allen back. Bring back the GOAT of rats." If you don't know, and if you're just not first time ever listener, Josh Allen is a fellow Jaguars fan. He has been stirring in this misery along with Cody and I for many years. And
Sam's mother's favorite Josh Allen.
Josh Allen then chimes in, the Josh Allen, "Someone please donate money so Cody can buy some decorations for his wall." I'm happy with his decorations.
I'm actually not a big fan of putting stuff on walls. I don't know. But yeah, we've only been in here for a couple of months now, and we're still making it feel like a home. My wife is one of those basic white girls, so I'm surprised it doesn't say live, laugh, love up there. But we're maybe I'll get something Jaguars since I do this in here or whatever and put it back there. I'm sure she would be fine with that.
Yeah. So steering this boat back into the NFL draft. So it's interesting the offensive line room that we have seems like a little bit of a, I wouldn't say log jam, but we have some new faces. Remember we signed Josh Wells for a 1-year deal.
And Cameron Brewer. Yeah.
And so then we have Cam Robinson, Walker Little, and so on and so forth. And so they've done a lot on the offensive line, which is important since the quarterback of our team needs to be protected and stay healthy. The best way to do that is put some big boys in front of him that can block the other big boys from hitting Trevor Lawrence, right? So it'll be interesting what happens there. We have a lot of options.
Honestly, like the Cam Robinson situation seemed to have been known in like the tight-knit sports community in Jacksonville for like a month before the draft even happened, or more. And it was super surprising to me that it didn't come out like through the wire like somewhere else. I mean, the people they have in that office now are a very tight-knit group or whatever, and word does not spread outside of it. That was insane to me. Like learning about the Cam Robinson situation literally the day before the draft, for me personally. I mean, that wasn't me like digging real deep into stuff, whatever. That was just me like coming across it by happenstance. But I follow all those people, and I listened to them. So it was just nuts that, because like Jacksonville, for the size of the city it is, word gets around fast down here. Like it's small town, like gossip stuff in a big city, and it's nuts. But they kept that in house.
Right. Just looking at Harrison's stats while he was in college, he only allowed 2 pressures on 406 pass block snaps last season, and only allowed 1 sack on 772 pass block snaps in the past 2 seasons.
Yeah. And
if you're looking back at last year, the Jaguars were 31st in the NFL in pass block win rate last season, per ESPN Analytics. Robinson ranked 59th. Juwan Taylor, who is now making $80 million for the Chiefs, ranked 38th. So there's an upgrade that we needed there. Hopefully Harrison can not only fill that gap while Robinson is riding the pine, but also for the next 10 to 15 years blocking for T-Law.
Right.
Any other thoughts on him before we move to round two?
I'm just saying 1,800 snaps at that position is insane or whatever, without being like, having even like a single injury. So I wrote dependable, reliable, built Ford tough for Anton Harrison, because that's an actual, I don't know, that's how I would describe him.
They say the best ability is availability, right?
Yeah. That'd be super cool coming out with like Cam Robinson, because even if this PED situation didn't happen, he still probably would have missed 6 games because he's been injury prone.
So I'm just looking here at Daniel Jeremiah's top prospects heading into the draft. Daniel Jeremiah had Anton Harrison ranked number 57. Now that's number 57 overall. And he ended up going 27, so I'm fine with that, especially if we're blocking the next great one.
Yeah.
So moving into the second round, the Jacksonville Jaguars select tight end Brenton Strange out of Penn State. So I'll take this one. You started us off on the last one. So Brenton Strange, a tight end. It's an interesting pick. I'm not surprised. We have Evan Ingram and Luke Farrell. We have Garrett Prince, but he really hasn't done much. But Evan Ingram obviously is our tight end, hopefully for the future. He did a lot to shore up the offense and provide a security blanket for Trevor Lawrence, and they had a lot of really good connections down the line on the offense. And in my opinion, is the best pass catching tight end we've seen don a Jacksonville Jaguars uniform. I love you, Mercedes Lewis, but Evan Ingram he's a baller, right? It also helps he's in a very pass-friendly league, as well as has Trevor Lawrence on the ball too.
Right.
So we know Evan Ingram's situation is very interesting. He hasn't signed his franchise tag yet, and they haven't, apparently from word is that they haven't really made any progress on the long-term contract. I assume, now this is just I think Cody feels different, but I think Evan Ingram does get re-signed for a long-term contract. I think that like both parties are trying to figure that out. Evan Ingram brings a lot to the team. The Jaguars are obviously an up-and-coming team, and who doesn't want to be part of that? I mean, especially with the success that we had last year and the success that we'll have continually moving forward. But I think we can. There's a place for 2 tight ends on our team, especially when you have one that's on a cheap rookie contract, right? There's a place to have 2 tight ends, and if I believe right, they ran a 2 tight end offense in Philadelphia during the Super Bowl run. So I still think Evan Ingram gets signed for long term. I think Strange will be, once Ingram's contract ends, and Strange, if everything works out, Strange will then slot into that 1 tight end spot, and he'll take the next high-end contract for the tight ends for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I'm excited. My original take was not super excited to see him. I really wanted us to go defensive heavy through the entire draft and to see us go offense. Initially, I wasn't really cool with it, but after sleeping on it and thinking about it and reading through all what the players have to offer, where this offensive defense is going, it makes sense. I'm okay with it. I still would have probably gone defense in the first round at least, but that's just me. So what do you think?
So, yeah, it seemed like a Doug Peterson pick.
Yeah.
Dude's a Swiss Army knife. Good run blocker. Can like line up in the H-back position. Here's a fun fact. His first NCAA touchdown pass was thrown to him by Will Levis.
Oh, that's right. Will Levis was there before he moved to Kentucky. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, he's got a if he can catch like touchdown passes from terrible quarterbacks or whatever, then, I'm glad to have him on the team. But, but yeah, man, he's like the 2 tight end set. It makes sense or whatever because it's Peterson's offense or whatever, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the Ingram situation is going to go one way or the other. But having him here. So, oh my God, I just went blank for a second. When keeping it real goes wrong, this is exactly what we're talking about.
Hey, while you're shoring up your thoughts, we'll turn to our comment section. Again, for those that are listening after this live, Matthew Briggs comments, Josh Allen, that calendar and lamp are hip, in regards to Cody's background. Josh Allen that hits back, Matthew Briggs looks like he bought them from some old lady's yard sale. Wow. Attacking grandma.
I'm losing my thought process and getting roasted at the same time.
Keeping it real.
What a day. Anyway, so yeah, one of the like main problems with the Jags last season was their red zone offense, and we lost a lot of games by a single touchdown. So where's the problem, and what can we do, to shore that up, whatever, using the picks that we have in the draft. Mm-hmm. Getting another tight end that's good at run blocking, gives us another option there, whatever, because all the different places that he could line up. So, yeah, I think this it's a pick that took me a day or two to like get over, because there was a lot of people there that I would have wanted or whatever. But I am not the head coach for the Jaguars.
Right. Yeah, no, I think there'll be a dynamic duo back there. Penn State used Strange all over the field, and we assume the Jaguars will do the same. Just to kind of go over a little bit what he did, he caught 70 passes for 755 yards and 11 touchdowns at Penn State. So production is there. I think it'll be, for me, long term, I think it was a great pick. And what's interesting? I think as a Jaguars fan, I think for me personally, we're in an interesting situation. Usually we are picking A at the top, B, we need as many players as possible from the NFL draft to not only do well, but we need them to be a starter from day one and impactful. We've put together, as crazy as it sounds, Balky has put together a roster that is sound at most of the positions. Yes, we still have needs, and yes, we still have room for improvement. But I think we're in a situation where we can draft a tight end in the second round with more of a long-term outlook, right? And that's just not a position that we've been accustomed to. So I think that's kind of thrown a lot of us off of our game as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like strange. I mean, there was tight ends being picked around him, but then like Darnell Washington out of Georgia went like way later.
Yes.
So it was just like, if he was there, like if draft, like the picks were different, like if we could have picked somebody else and then went back and grabbed him too, I guess they just didn't want to take those types of gambles.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. Like I'm happy with the draft for the most part, especially the later rounds.
Yes,
because positions started getting filled up that I feel like we should have gotten earlier. But they're still really good players. The way this draft happened, I don't know. Like it was just like we're in the 5th round. I'm like, whoa, like the Texans picked up Hutchinson, Xavier Hutchinson, whatever, wide receiver out of was it Iowa? And I was like, like in the way late rounds,
right? And 2-2, I think that's his name. 2-2 went really late as well.
Yeah,
it was an interesting draft. Teams didn't necessarily go for the best player at the position that they were picking from. They were picking the best player at the position that fit their scheme well, and so I think that kind of threw things off. It was weird, interesting, and fun draft. So moving into the 3rd round, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Tank Bigsby, running back, Auburn. You want to take it? Or...
So Auburn had a terrible offensive line.
Horrible.
I mean, like Bo Nix was getting sacked everywhere. He finally left and went to Oregon, and then they just didn't fix it. So the fact that like Tank Bigsby is any sort of like a name that was this high up in the draft behind that offensive line is a feat within itself.
It's true.
So he's an elusive playmaker. No holes, no problem. He'll run the far side of the field and cut. I feel like he could complement ETN similar to like an Austin Eckler, Melvin Gordon type of situation. So there was like some highlights that I looked up, and I paused it on this one, and it's on the Twitter feed. But it was Ole Miss. The O-line fell apart. He's surrounded by 5 blue jerseys, and he somehow turns that into a 40-yard run. Like, dude is insane. He's very similar to ETN though. There's a lot of like him breaking first contact, which I wish ETN could do more of. So it's going to be fun to like watch them side by side and see which one is the get some more yards. It's going to be a fun competition internally. Yeah.
I wasn't too excited about this pick, especially coming in the 3rd round. We have Travis Etienne. He's number 1, and he's one of the top running backs in the NFL, especially fitting our scheme. It's Travis Etienne is, and then of course he missed his first season, so he doesn't have as much mileage on him, right? So his legs are a little bit more fresh. But we signed D'Ernest Johnson and then re-signed JaMycal Hasty. So we had, I think, a pretty set backfield, and then we had the fall, whatever you want to call it, Snoop Connor,
right?
That we picked up last year, who apparently is doo-doo because the guy never saw the field. But I think D'Ernest Johnson he seemed like the guy that we picked for that short yardage situation, the guy that we would hand the ball off to once we got into the red zone, or at least close to the goal line, right? Because Travis Etienne is one of those guys that he's not the one that's necessarily going to crush you through the tackles. That I thought was Dernis Johnston.
Right.
And Jermichael Hasty kind of was a poor man's version of Travis Etienne. Jermichael Hasty had some pretty good runs last year. But here we go. We pick up Bixby, who seems like he's going to be the one that fills in for for Johnson, right? But I do know that he's a good runner. Like you said, he didn't have much of a line in front of him. And so for him to be effective is impressive. And last year, his yards after contact per rush ranked 13th in the whole NCAA. So he's going to be effective as long as all those attributes carry over into the NFL. So I don't know. It was a luxury pick because, yes, I think it can be effective and I think it can be long-term for sure. But I think there were better options available. So
it's just not off script for Doug Peterson. He did the same thing in Philadelphia. They had a bunch of running backs, bunch of tight ends, whatever. So
right. And apparently Balky likes to draft tight end or running backs.
Running backs. Yeah. Every single one. That's insane.
I'm still not cool with it. I think I would have rather seen somebody else go.
I was just basing off of the highlights that I saw, whatever, and I think that he's gonna be able to surprise us or whatever. Especially there was some games that we played where Hasty was just chewing them up, and so I mean, like having like ETN, Hasty, Ernest, and then just there's a couple of different kinds of backs there. So there's a couple of different kinds of looks that they can give a defense, right. And I think it could be like extremely effective.
Right. So we're running low on time. We've got probably about 10 minutes left. So we're going to steamroll through these next few ones. The fourth round, we picked Ventrell Miller, linebacker out of Florida. My only take on that is I thought the first 3 rounds, I was super excited. I applauded them. I said, thank goodness we did not draft a Gator. Not only because I hate the Gators, but because historically speaking, we don't do well drafting Gators outside of the likes of Fred Taylor.
Right.
So here we are drafting linebacker Ventrell Miller. Of course, he had some good things on tape that you could see. But if you guys recall, the Gators defense was horrible. It's been so bad. And they lost to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
That means the defense let the Vanderbilt Commodores score more than their own offense. So I'm not a big fan of that pick, mostly just because of those historical facts. What about you?
So what I got is the Jones fracture on his foot. That was like the most interesting thing or whatever. He played with that for the entire season. So he was cleared 3 days ago after having surgery like sometime in April. Mm-hmm. So knowing that he played the entire season injured and then still has the numbers to be drafted or whatever is like, similar to how I felt about Tank Bigsby or whatever. They're probably thinking like, oh, he was that great or whatever. So, we'll grab him here. And then now that he's healthy, we'll see what he could really do.
Yeah.
And like our history of like drafting Gator players is terrible, but that was like an old regime or whatever. And that was a guy who just seemed like a Florida homer who would just pick Florida Gators just because they were Florida Gators. And this guy feels like, there's some potential there.
Yeah. I know somebody mentioned that Shaquille Quarterman is coming up on the final year of his rookie contract. So there's a potential that Miller could slide in and we let Quarterman go without having to re-sign him on a big contract. So again, potentially it was just a down the road pick. Round 4, Tyler Lacey, defensive end at Oklahoma State.
You got anything?
No.
So most bench reps out of any defensive player in the combine, and usually that doesn't mean a lot, or whatever. But his position, he's got to have that power over there or whatever. So, and then I seen him just like track a wide receiver down. So he's not terribly slow for a D. So this is an interesting pick. I wonder if they're going to ask him to slim down or if they're going to ask him to like get a little bit bigger. He's 6'4" and 279 pounds.
Big boy.
Yeah.
So Dwayne Smoot hasn't been signed yet, so this could potentially be a pick to cover that if we were to lose Smoot. So,
right.
We haven't signed him yet. I hope we do. So here we'll slow it down a little bit. Round 5, I would think was more impressive than our round 4 and round 3, if you ask me. So round 5, we had 2 picks. We ended up picking 2 in the 5th round. Number 136 overall, we picked Yasir Abdullah, linebacker out of Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
I'm super excited about that pick. At first, I was so about it, but as time has worn on, I'm pretty excited about what he has to bring. He had 19 and a half sacks the last 2 seasons, and what was something that we had an issue with last year?
Yeah,
getting to the quarterback, right? He's a little small. He's a 6'1", 237 pounds, but he made a lot of tackles, 42 tackles for loss, and he's a big playmaker. And hopefully he slots in for the role that we hoped Caleb Chason was going to fill, right? So deuces, Chason.
You're like putting these pieces together that I didn't. Like you're saying that we picked all these people for needs or whatever, for people that we don't know if you're going to be here or not, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A lot of these were their future picks, so they didn't look as sexy, but for building the roster, it makes sense. So anything on Yasir Abdullah? I know you have a lot to say about Johnson.
Yasir Abdullah, born in Miami, Florida. So welcome back to the state, young man. He led Louisville in sacks in 2021, and I was going to mention the sack production thing. So nice. Something that we're missing and something that we desperately need. So if he can come here and do that, whatever, then he has a fan.
So in the 5th round, again, we picked number 160 overall, Antonio Johnson, safety out of Texas A&M. Take it away, Cody.
I mean, this is the pick that I was most excited for. This is the position that I wanted them to go in earlier. He was there was like a question or whatever that Mia O'Brien asked Balky, like, when are we gonna do something about this? And it was on like the end of day at the first day, and he was like, well, I've been on my Trent Balky voice. We'll get to there, and some like media answer or whatever. I most enjoyed Antonio Johnson because of the division that he played in college football, and watching him pressure Bryce Young, watching him like lay the hit stick on some of these people that are on other teams in our division. He reminds me of Barry Church, and I was always excited to have like somebody like that on our team, whatever. And I feel like he's going to fit in well here.
Nice. So interesting, Johnson. I'm looking at going into the draft. Daniel Jeremiah had Antonio Johnson ranked at 101, which was actually ranked higher than our 3rd round pick, Tank Bixby. So it's a cool little nugget there. He kind of fell. So I agree with you. This was my favorite pick of the draft, just because of the value that we got there. But he's kind of like a lot of players that we've picked, right? He's kind of a Swiss Army knife. He could do a little bit of this, he could do a little bit of that. He's not that one-trick pony. So we have an entire defense full of players that can do this and do that a little bit, right? So I think that'll fit in well to their system. And again, we talked about this earlier. Teams have been picking players that aren't necessarily the best at what they do, but the best at what they do for what they want done on their scheming. So I think that's a great pick. They said he's listed as a safety, but last year he spent 47% of his snaps lined up in the slot for the Aggies. So, crazy enough, the Aggies were actually ranked 1st in the SEC in pass defense, which is kind of weird.
That's cool.
He will most likely compete with Trey Herndon in the slot corner. So I think he was a great pickup. The fact that he can come in in round 5, potentially fight for a starting job, I'll take that all day, every day. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up now. Our sister show, the Houston Texans, they have an excellent show coming up here pretty soon, and we will make sure we get as many eyeballs on there and support for them, even though we think they are the worst team in the division.
That's the Texans fan battle.
Texas Fan Battle podcast, yeah.
Texas Fan Battle, okay.
They're gonna have a pretty cool guy on to go over their draft. And
Frotten. It's like Frotten or Fro. How do you say it?
Frodo?
Anyway,
did he leave the Shire again?
He gave the Texans draft a D. So I can't wait until hear their retort or what they they have to say about that, because I would be feeling a little bit feisty too if like some reporter gave my team a D. So
D's.
Oh, pause.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. This has been our draft recap. Stay tuned to the next few weeks as the offseason kind of gets a little bit slower. We're going to go on a little bit deeper dive of each player and what they're bringing to the team. We'll know a little bit more what the Jaguars thought process was as the weeks go on why they picked and who they picked and why they picked them where and whatnot. So keep on the lookout for more of our content. You can find that at fanbattlesports.com. You can also find us on YouTube, the Jaguars Fan Battle, and all the social media accounts. We're pretty much done with our rebranding, which we're all here pretty soon. And as the rebranding rolls out, so will all of our giveaways. Please go follow our Twitter account. Cody Cold is doing an excellent job of managing our Twitter account. He's got some really neat content coming out every day, so be sure to swing by there. Cody, where can we find you?
At Cody Cold Gaming on just about everywhere. Mainly Facebook and like Twitch.
Nice.
Yeah.
You can find me at Matthew G Sports on Twitter, and please swing by the Jaguars Fan Battle, all of our socials again. We really appreciate all the support. And until next time, guys, we'll see you.